Let's start with some basics of Google Drive, its organization, and settings. So to get to Google Drive, there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, you can type in drive.google.com, and it's going to take you straight to your Google Drive. The other thing you can do is if you are signed in to Google Chrome and your Google services, you can click on the waffle or the app launcher icon and choose Drive, and it will take you to your Google Drive. So now let's look at some of the features once we're logged in to Google Drive. So I have my Google Drive here, and let's first of all talk about the view. There's two different views you can have. So this is more of a list view, and in the list view I have all of my folders, and then once I get past all of my folders, then I have files, and you'll notice that they are in alphabetical order, unless I have put some kind of number or symbol at the front of them because I want them to be at the top. Okay, there's a second view. If you go right up here, you can choose this little grid layout option. Click on this. This changes your view to more of a grid or bigger layout option where your folders are listed here. And then below it, you have all your files. And you kind of get a bigger thumbnail and a little bit of a picture of what each of your files are when you have it in this view. Either one is fine. It's whatever your preferences are. The other thing that you have right up here is this eye with a circle around it. This is going to be your information or details button. If I click on this when I'm just in my drive, this gives me some information about my drive. So first of all, if I wanted to click on a specific folder, then it could give me details about that specific folder within my drive, who has access to it, where it's located, that kind of thing. If I click on activity, it would actually tell me who was the last person to edit anything within that folder. If I'm not selecting a specific folder, then what I'm going to see activity for is everything within my Google Drive. And so I can see when people last worked on things, maybe if I've shared items or when I last worked on something. So that just gives you a little bit of detail about the items in your folder. Also want to point out that if I click on a specific folder, I get a few more buttons up here, and we're going to talk more about these in a little bit. But I get a link folder or button. I get a share button, obviously a delete button where I could delete a folder or an item. And then I get three little dots, which in Google is always going to mean that there's more options, like adding shortcuts, starring, renaming, changing the color. We'll talk more about each of those things in just a moment. Now let's take a look at a couple of options under settings. So up here at the top, we have our little settings gear. I'm going to click on that, and let's go to settings. And few things that you will see and that you probably want to make sure you have checked. So the first thing is you'll be able to see kind of how much storage space that you have. Then there's an option here for convert uploads. I strongly encourage that you check this box. This will allow any files that you upload to your Google Drive to be converted to Google Docs or to Google Slides or to Google Sheets. So if you upload a Word document, it will automatically convert it to a Google Doc. If you upload an Excel spreadsheet, it will automatically convert it to a Google Sheet. And so that just makes it a lot easier to work with those documents once they're uploaded to your Google Drive. Another option that you have is offline. This will allow you to create, open, and edit any recent docs, sheets, and slides, even if your device is offline. So I encourage you to keep that checked as well. That way, if you happen to be in the car and you need to work or somewhere where you don't have good internet access, as long as you have recently opened a document when you were online, you should be able to access that offline, make edits and changes, and then the next time that you are connected to the internet, it will make sure that those things get updated. There are some other settings that you can take a look at, and you can see those. You can actually have it show suggested files in your drive and in your shared drive. You can have show suggested files in your shared with me and things like that. So if I click this, then now it's going to show me some suggestions when I look at my files at the top. So there's my settings. I'm going to go back out now just to my drive. And so now what you're going to see up here at the top is this area where it says suggested. These suggested files are going to be files that have been worked on recently or have been worked on a lot, and I may want to take a look at or have easy access to. Again, that's a setting you can decide whether you want turned on or turned off. But those are just a few options under settings that I would recommend you check and decide how you want that set up in your Google Drive. Down the left-hand side, we have several options as well. We have the New button where we can create new files and folders. We'll cover that in another video. We have Priority, which if you have anything marked as super important or priority, or it's something that you use a lot, it will suggest things for that. My Drive, which we were just looking at, is all of your files and folders. So remember, My Drive, think of it as your personal drive that has all of the things that you own and you create in it. Then we have shared drives. We'll talk more about these in another video, but shared drives are essentially drives within Google where you share lots of items with other people. You have Shared with Me. This is going to be any file or folder that someone else has created and has shared with you so that you have access to it. Recent is going to have a list of all the things that you have opened recently. Any file that you've been working on within the last month or so will show up there. Starred. This is where you can actually keep things that you use quite often. So if you have folders, if you have files that you use a lot and you want quick access to them, you can put them in the starred. And then of course we have trash if we want to dump things. Let's look at starred just a little bit more. So let's say that I want to star this DLC folder. I use it a lot. I want to make sure I have access to it. So I'm going to star that. So I'm going to hover over that folder. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit Add to Starred. It's going to tell me that it's been added to starred. And now if I go there, I'm going to see here's that DLC folder. And so it's there for me to have quick access to whenever I need it. Let's also look at some other options we get when we right-click on a folder. So again, I'm going to right-click on this folder, and we have the ability to share this folder. We'll do a video on that in just a little bit and get a link. We can add a shortcut to Drive. We'll talk about that a little bit more later as well. You could move this folder. If you wanted to move it somewhere else in Google Drive, you could do that. We talked about starred. You can rename it. If you don't like what it's named the first time, you can always rename it. You can change its color. A lot of times you might want to color code your folders or make them a different color to kind of make them stand out, so you can do that. You could search within that folder if you were looking for a document. You can view the details of this folder, just like we could view the details in Drive, like we did that earlier. And you could always download the contents of that folder or trash that folder if you needed to. That's just kind of an overview of the basic layout of Google Drive, and we will dive into some specifics in the next videos.